Welcome to our Houzz Workshop today. My name is Viviana and I'm the team lead for the product support team. Today we have Jennifer from the product support team leading the session, and we're also going to have Rebecca, who is the manager for our client onboarding team, which some of you might know. We always do these workshops by topics, so each month we have a different topic, and this month it's on payments and reporting. So as the year is kicking off, we wanted to start with, let's set up your business for financial success. So some of the things that we'll be covering during the next few weeks on payments and reporting, we're going to be covering how to get paid quickly and easily. That's today. We're going to cover some of the payment features available to you on Houzz. And then in coming features, it's also about how to not leave money on the table, how to get more comfortable with financial reporting as well. So for today, I mentioned today's session is on Get Paid Quickly. Next week, it's keep track of your billable work. And that's if you have team members or if you're a one-man band as well, how to make sure that you're always collecting time, expenses, services, and all of the work that you're doing, how to bill for that. And finally, we have 3 sessions this month. The third one is on visibility into all of your payment. So we do have financial reports here on Houzz as well. And it's just how to make that very easy for you to read. So how to make all of those financial numbers more approachable for everyone.
Okay.
Getting started into today specifically, what we're going to be covering in today's session is getting paid quickly and on time and what features are available to you. So we're going to kick this off with a group discussion. We're going to talk about some of the benefits of using the Houzz Pro payment features. Then Rebecca's going to lead a feature demo for everyone today. And we're going to wrap it up with some takeaways and survey. For the group discussion, just keep in mind, you can either unmute yourself and share with the group if you feel comfortable, and then we can all have a conversation, or you can also use the chat on Zoom to write down any thoughts or any feedback that you have as well. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and Happy New Year. As we started this session today, as we said, we'll focus today on the financial reports and payments. So what we want to do before we dive into it is just have a little discussion just to have a better understanding of how you're working, your processes put in place, what has been an advantage for you, what has been helpful, what has been working for you as well. Just as I said, to have a better understanding of how we're working and what we're working with. So we want to dive into it. So as Viviana mentioned, please feel free to unmute yourself. Feel free to actually, put a message in the chat or any comment in the chat if you want to process. So just to start with, I just want to know, how do you currently communicate your payment schedule to your client? So I believe that you're working. In order for you to live, you need to get a payment. So how do you currently communicate your payment schedule to your client, generally speaking, while you're working on a project? Do you have a process put in place?
Yes, I don't know. It's Christina. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Christina.
Well, what you do is that you have a setup within part of the contract and how you are getting paid, your base fees and so on. And with all the orders that are placed through, then you get a commission paid on the amount of the volume of the orders that you're putting through. And you have your spreadsheets with the order and you sort of communicate with the client that what is paid for what. I usually charge a pre-charge, like a set amount, say 20,000 or 30,000 or 50,000 or however, like the budget is set, which they pay into the account, and then, like whatever purchase is made is being ticked off, and I'll invoice the client accordingly saying payment received, thank you. So it's fairly simple, really.
Okay, so you generally communicate how the payment will the process for the payment through your contract. Is that correct?
Well, initially, yes, of course, like the parameters are set through the contract so that the client knows what he would expect. And then there is what I do. I do a budget, or he gives me, sometimes they give me a budget, mostly not, but I create a budget roughly on what the content would summon up to. And then I have a separate one by the builders, and that was sort of, and they have both these two are handled separately, by the way, through when I do it. I don't mix them up because it gets very confusing for a client. I think it's very, very important to keep the refurb cost, with the builder team separate from the content.
Fair, yeah. Do we
Yeah.
have anyone else that process in a different way?
Mhm.
Vivi, sorry, you were.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say thank you, Christina, for sharing. I did have a follow-up question for Christina before we ask the rest of the group. You create this contract for your clients and you keep them separate, which is a really great practice. How do you then, share this with your clients specifically? Would you share that spreadsheet via your email?
No, I don't share any spreadsheets. I don't share
Mhm.
any office data with any client. I don't think that is appropriate, and they don't need to know. What we do, what I give them a discount on all the purchases, and the discounts are shown by a summary on a sheet, like with each item photographed, and then the amounts are spaced next to it. And so that the client knows, okay, this is what it costs me. And then I would just, deduct that from the prepayment that the client has made. I always take prepayment.
Perfect. And that document, that sheet specific for the client, how do you share that with them?
Well, by email, of course.
An email. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Jen, to your question, for the rest of the group, does anyone do anything different? How are you communicating payment schedules with your clients?
I just basically have an invoice and I email it to them directly. I like the system that you've used, and I will be using that more often. It's easier and it's all in one place, so I actually like that. And you basically give us a template and everything is done. Normally it used to be on an app called, I think Invoice, INV or something, and I used to send that, and that was separate on an email. Even though it was linked to my Gmail, I used to use that in the past, and that seemed to work as well. But I think it's definitely easier through Houzz Pro going forward.
Great. Looks like you've already looked into it.
Yeah.
So how would you, Christina just mentioned that once you actually send too much to a client, it can get confusing. But for yourself, when you are currently when you're working on different projects at the same time, how would you keep track, of the payments across all the projects? So if you know that you're working on project A and then B and C, how do you make sure that you do not get confused and that everything is pretty set up clearly, and that you do not actually get overwhelmed by all the different payments that have to come through, and make sure that you keep track of all the payments?
Yes, this is why this is really good because it is constantly, in the past, I've been constantly just chasing them and putting in a very manual system. I'm not huge, so at the moment it's okay. So I have 3 or 4 clients, so it's fine at a given time. But it is, it's a lot of admin work. I constantly look back and forth on my client list, and I've got an Excel sheet that is going in and out of something, so this will be really good. I've just had a very general, I'm definitely not an expert, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Which is fine, because we'll actually dive into it in a bit. Is there any other ways that anyone else actually keep tracks of payment? We've heard Safia mentioning an Excel sheet. Is there any other ways that you guys maybe use to keep track of your payments across your projects?
Well, yes, I use a slightly different method. Apologies for the lighting, by the way. I'm traveling and it's still early hours in the morning where I am. So I've met with a bunch of designers, so I feel I have to apologize for this, setting around. Anyway, happy to be here. I work with a fee proposal that's divided in stages, and then the payment becomes payable at the end of the stage. So yeah, that might not work with the get paid quickly that you're going to talk about later. Although I'm protected by a clause of, if anything, if the contract stops before the end of the stage, the whole stage gets payable. And then when I get into project management, so that's for the design stages. And when I get into project management, there's a monthly retainer. So that's an invoice, monthly invoice. That's how I keep track. If there are additional expenses, then they're billed separately. If, for example, I do source material and buy it for the client, I agree with them and then add it to the invoice. That works for me. It's simple enough for the one-to-one clients for their homes. But yeah, I mean, as the business grows, it might require more automated systems or some. Yeah, looking forward to what we're going to discuss.
Is the process that you have currently in place is actually applicable and easy as well when it comes to the different payment, which could be a payment that is currently pending or that has already been paid? Is there enough clarity for you when you're actually not looking throughout all the different projects, but also the different status of the payments?
Yes, it has not been a problem in the sense that clients have paid me promptly, but I guess it could be if they're busy and they're not. There was one client that kept forgetting to pay and apologized and was wanting me to remind them what was owed. So therefore it was additional work for me because I also had to get my head around another time when I had already done that. So yes, there's that bit where I had to check what actually they had paid and what I had invoiced and cross-check it. But in general, yeah, this has not been a big issue, but yeah.
On your end. In terms of payment, we're still working and diving into this subject. We've had so many feedback and we've heard of so many different ways to work. Ideally, what we want to do is to make sure that our clients actually have the best experience. So in order for us to offer that, we want to look into the simplest way for them to actually make their payments. So far, with the different feedback that you have shared, do you believe that the process that you are currently using is the easiest for your client? If so, if it's not actually, how do you think that we could actually make things a bit more simple for the clients to actually just proceed with their payment as easy as it could be?
I don't know, to be honest, what to answer. I mean, you have your fee set and you have your percentages on expenditure coming in, and you just invoice them. The difficulty is to keep track of everything if you have a multitude of clients. Not with one client, that's all right. It's the multitude of clients that sort of gets you in the fiddle, that you really have to have your paperwork in order.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I don't want any kind of hassle in invoicing and figuring out what to do left, right, and center. I want it simple and straightforward, and so does every client. These clients that we all are having are busy people. They don't want to have another headache, and neither do I, to be frank with you.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're not only emphasizing on your client, but you're also emphasizing on yourself. You don't want it to be that difficult for you.
Obviously, because like I'm working for myself. I have an assistant. We're already working round the clock. So, and this admin stuff, I just could scream. I hate it like the pest.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Christina. I think we hear that a lot, don't we? And it's what with Houzz Pro we intend to do. It's how to simplify and make admin much more efficient. We also have a feedback in the chat, Jen. So the easiest way for me to pay online is by using simple methods like Apple Pay, a simple payment button.
Indeed. Yeah, we want to make it simple. I think, as you said, via Apple Pay is very straightforward, where especially when the client is guided to all the steps, click on this button and then next button, and then just confirm this is how we want to proceed and make sure that everything is clear and easy for the client. Lastly, I would like to know, in what way can simplifying your process be impactful? We talked about experience. We talked about making sure that the client can have a great experience. What other way could that be impactful when it comes to your work or the client's journey with you? Simplifying payments. How do you believe that that could actually be helpful? We could talk about the communication, just communicating with the client. Obviously, the easier it is, the more clarity and transparency there is as well. The less confusion, the less errors as well will take place if the process is easy and simple.
Yeah.
Any other contribution? Or any other ways that you believe that that could be impactful when it comes to simplifying the process?
I mean, it has to be logical and straightforward. There's not much, this is not a PhD and kind of fiddling with numbers. It's just very simple and straightforward. And, like a child would do it in school, bring it on and we'll do it, basta così.
Yeah.
But for me as well, if you can make it so simple that it's almost absent of the conversation,
Exactly.
that is helpful. Because there's so many details. I mean, obviously, I feel what Christina said. I hate, there's a lot of people that don't like to talk about money, either, clients or us, but also there's so many little decisions to be taken that are in the content of our work, that if, that one can be sorted, then it leaves more room for discussing, design aspects and etc.
Yeah, totally true. Simple and straightforward.
That's very true. I totally agree with Valerie's point. Thank you so much for your contribution. So what we want to do, as we have had a brainstorming, we want to look into the benefit of using payment features. We do have very clear benefits, and we've talked about some of the benefits during the conversation that we just had. The ease of use, which is really simple method to collect payment, flexibility, and intuitive financial overview. Another benefit will be the clear process for client, and this is something that is very important to all of us, I believe, which will include transparency, simple to understand payment schedule, and also easily access to all payment through a dashboard. So if you have a dashboard, at least you have the ability, again, to make things easy just by a click, and then you get to the page where you need to proceed with your payment, and that will be all. Another benefit will be confidence, quickly capture every dollar, which here will be pounds, get approval on payment terms, and also business and client can track all payments. So we want to make sure that not only the business is aware of what's pending, what has been paid, but also the client being aware of what, in what stage they currently find themselves throughout the process. Any other benefits that come in your mind? I think this is very straightforward and pretty clear. I believe that you agree.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So now what we're gonna do is just simply diving into the demo. So I had the mic to Rebecca, who will actually lead us into this demo.
Hi guys, sorry I was a little bit late joining the session, but glad that we have a nice big group today to have a look at these three features that we have available on Houzz Pro that very much comes as a really important thing that you guys have all shared today that you need to keep being transparent with your clients, make it as simple for yourselves and also them as possible. Jen, do you mind if I share my screen? Thank you. Amazing. So, in Houzz Pro, the first thing that I wanted to show all of you is how to set up online payments for yourself on Houzz Pro. If you go into the settings cog when you're in your Houzz Pro portal and then navigate to online payments here, this will allow you to have the ability to enter your card details and allow clients to pay you with a click of a button from the invoices that you send out to them. I can't remember which of you mentioned so, but over the chat about having something like Apple Pay, something to be able to pay really, really quickly. That's something that all of us benefit from in our day-to-day interactions these days. And keeping payments as simple as possible is of course something that all of our clients are always looking for. I'm actually just going to go back. So this is a little video which I'll zoom in. Hopefully it'll make it a little bit bigger for us to take a watch of. I'm not going to play it with the sound because I'm just going to explain a few things over while we're taking a look. The reason why I'm showing this rather than doing it is because I'm not going to set up my own bank details in it to do the demo for you, but just wanted to show you how it looks both for yourself and also for your clients whenever they are going through the payment schedule. So the way that it'll work with the clients is that they will have a pay now button for them to be able to pay you straight away via the invoice. Just going back here, you'll see that there are two sections. This is a US video, and so we don't actually in international have the ability for your clients to pay via bank transfer, via online payments at the moment, only by credit cards, just so that you're aware. But the way that it will work is that you would set up your credit card, and it would allow your clients to be able to pay you directly to your account via card. A couple of other things to mention with online payments and with this process as well is that there is a transaction fee of 2.5% for the process. We use a third-party company called Stripe, who you guys might use at the moment, or you might be aware of, and that's the standard fee that they have with payment systems. What we would really recommend and what our professionals who are using the system do at the moment is that they add a markup on their client invoices off that 2.5% so that their clients are absorbing the cost of that. So that wouldn't be something that you would feel like you have to pay as extra in order to use this system. You can easily add that as a markup. And if you're using the Houzz Pro proposals and invoices, then adding a markup and either declaring that or hiding that from the client is something that you can really simply do. Just continuing with this as well, all of the information that you want to present to the client in terms of how much overall they're going to pay will be in this system. This is a little sneak peek of how you can also split those payments out. And I'll show you in a bit more detail how this will work in a second. But if you have online payments set up, then it just provides that extra level of ease for the clients to be able to transfer the money on a certain due date without you having to remember yourself when you need the extra installment or be chasing them constantly for those payments. A few of you mentioned that you're sending invoices out to your clients by email at the moment. Through Houzz Pro, they will receive the invoice directly in their inbox, but also it will appear on their client dashboard as well, which I'll also show you in live time a little bit later. But this provides your clients with the flexibility to be able to see what they need to pay, also what they're paying for, so that you don't feel like you're having to have that back and forth with the client about what is this charge for, what am I paying this for. All of that information is available in their financial documents, which they can access via their Houzz Pro client dashboard, which you can share with them as well. A few other things to mention as well. I'm not sure if any of you are using our QuickBooks integration at the moment, or if any of you use QuickBooks for your accounting. But if that's something that you have thought about in the past and are interested in doing, then by using the online payments system on Houzz Pro, a record of these online payments will also automatically show up in your QuickBooks account as well. So that would avoid you having to duplicate your financial reporting, as you would receive the money on Houzz Pro and that would also appear on QuickBooks as well. The idea with the online payments, and I'd say probably the biggest benefit of this, is that it saves you having to manually enter whenever a client has paid you. I'm sure you receive your bank statements, you see that a client has sent you money. If you're working on multiple projects at the same time, sometimes it can be extra admin work for you, which all of you have said that you don't like to do, to be able to put down, what have I been paid for? When do I next need a payment? The online payments means that that's automatically synced into the system for you straight away. If you are needing to provide a refund to your clients, unfortunately, the system does not allow for those refunds to be processed via Houzz Pro at the moment. And so that is one thing that you would need to manually process the funds back to your client if you were needing to provide a refund in any way, just so that you guys are aware of that as well. But hopefully, with the payment schedule, which I'll show you in a minute, it will mean that there's no need to overcharge clients through using retainers necessarily. I know a few of you mentioned that you're using that at the moment to keep cash flow coming through from a project. But with having clear payment schedules on all of your invoices, it means that you can charge for the parts of the project that you're doing, clearly indicate that, rather than relying on the retainers to basically fund parts of the project as and when they come up. I'll move on to the payment schedule in just one second, but does anyone have any questions about how online payments work and how you would receive money from the clients here?
I have a couple of questions. You might be heading to that. It's not so much about how the online payment works, because that's clear. It's the transaction fee that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can repeat what you said, 2 point something, and that's of the amount that is being paid, or is so clarify on that. And I might have a follow-up question on this, and then I have another question, which is about the, you might head to that, about the system security side, in the sense that if it crashes, for example, what kind of backup there is for us to access, how is that protected, and also data protection of the information, the financial information. If you can elaborate on that, I'm sure there is, but I'd like to hear a bit more about it. So those two separate points, please.
100%. So the transaction fee, yes, 2.5%. So that's charged on the total amount that your client would be paying you. In which we say, if you then add that as a markup on your invoice, then that will mean that they absorb that cost. So you won't have to be paying that extra. What that would have looked like otherwise is that if you, let's say you're waiting on £1,000 for a client, 2.5% would be taken off that. So you would receive, my maths is horrendous, I do apologize, but it's like 900 or whatever, with the 2.5% taken off of that. Does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. I just would not call it a transaction fee. I would call it a commission or a percentage, because the transaction fee for me is fixed, and it's related to the operation, but not a proportion of the amount. So that does change for me. That does make me want to really appreciate if I want to use this or not, for me and for my client.
For sure. Yeah, good to know. And you know, it like I said, it's something that you can be transparent to your client that you are adding on top of it, or otherwise via the markup system on Houzz Pro, you can hide that markup and just show the total amount that they are paying. So whichever way you work, you have the flexibility to do that. And then your other question was around, I believe what happens if the system, there's a glitch in the system, or what happens if there's any downtime for maintenance. So that you're aware as well, it is listed here, but we from when the client pays, and so whenever they enter their card details and submit their payment, to when you receive the payment, we usually see that to be between 3 to 5 business days. That is dependent on your bank as well. So if you find that bank payments are usually pretty immediately, or card charges are immediate with your bank, then it probably would be closer to the 2 to 3 days. However, if you do see that there usually is a bit of delay, it would take a little bit longer. So the payment isn't immediate, or rather the payment receipt isn't immediate for yourself, but the payment from the client is immediate. So they will feel that they've been charged and that they've made that payment immediately. So it's ease of service for them as well. Viviana and Jen, I don't know if you guys have anything that you can add to if there's any downtime, or if we've experienced that before, because I don't believe that we have.
I'll share a little bit more. The reason that we use Stripe in the first place, so Stripe is our payment processing company, and it's exactly for this reason. So we haven't experienced any issues with glitches, downtime, things like that in terms of payments. For the reason that Stripe is one of the largest and securest payment processing companies. And then, as Rebecca said, I would only add, what's instant about this is you send an invoice or a proposal to your client and they can pay straight away. So as soon as they get that document, it's the ease for them to put their payment details. And then there is, the delay in the payout that can be, on average, it's 3 business days for you to get the money. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys, before we move on to the payment schedule? No? Great. Well, I can show you as well. So if I go into my projects. So payment schedules can be set up in both the proposal stage, but also in the invoice stage. And so either you can propose a payment schedule to your clients for them to agree on that schedule and the dates associated with it. Or otherwise, if you've already been through that verbally with the client and you're ready to send them the invoice and set some dates for when you would like those payments to be received, you can do so on the invoice. So here is just an example invoice that I've set up. Yours will very likely all very, very much differ. I've just added some products into this invoice, but you can also add your services and specify exactly what you are offering in terms of your service and what the charges associated with that will be. No matter how that works, with the payment schedule, it allows you to have the flexibility to either request for the payment all at once. Otherwise, a few of you mentioned that you were working off the basis of getting a kind of initial deposit from the client, and then you would invoice the payment separately, or otherwise get a monthly retainer from the client and pay based on that. That is one possibility. You can still do that via Houzz Pro. But what this allows for otherwise is that if you are sending one big invoice with all of the amounts that you're looking to charge for the project, what you can do here is that you can split the payment schedule by adding to schedule another payment. And you can see that that starts to split the amount that you are charging and on different dates as well. So if I add 4 payment schedule here, you can choose the amount that you're charging for each of the sections. And so this is splitting it equally by a quarter each, but you can change that so that it's either a percentage of the total or it's a fixed amount that you're charging. Something that our professionals are doing at the moment that you might like to do as well is that if you want to use this to separate the phases of the project that you're working on, what you can do is that you can potentially add a fixed amount and you can rename what the payment is. And so here we might do design fee. And then we might change this to installation. And then we might you know, add an extra one for materials and acquisition. So whatever it is that you want to do it for, and then you can change the amount that you want to charge based on how much each of these sections are. And again, this just provides further clarity for the client about what they're paying for in each of the installments that they're going to be paying. Something else that you can do here is that either you have the ability, based on the payment terms, to select individual due dates in which you want to pay. So you can change whatever date that you're expecting the payment, and this would be visible to the client whenever you send the invoice, so they can clearly see at what date they need to be making the follow-up payments for. Otherwise, if you want to keep it simple for yourself, you can change it based on a kind of 15-day later, 30-day later, 60-day later payment schedule. So here we've got 15 days after this. And then we have, if I change this to net 30 or net 60, you can see that it will update each of these to follow that schedule. So if you do choose to set up online payments, what would happen is that once a client has paid, it will update the status automatically based on where we're at. And so it will change this to paid if you have received an online payment from the client. The other thing that you can do is log a payment manually. So if you are still wanting to receive your payments, let's say via bank transfer, and give your client that option to pay you directly, or if you want to give them the option of doing both, and you can do so, and if they opt for a different type of method, you can log what kind of payment it was. So if I say bank transfer, you can add a reference number for your own records, and if I hit done, you can see that will change this to having been paid. And so that's already sorted from this system. If you are asking your clients to pay you via bank transfer, the way that we recommend you do it is that if you scroll down on the invoice, there is a section here that usually will come up and say memo. You can edit that. So I've just put in a section, how to pay me. And then you can add your bank details here. What that means, if I go to preview and share this invoice, you can see that it's, because I've just logged one payment, it's showing that some of it has been partially paid. And if I scroll down, it will show what the next payments are due, what's already been paid, the dates that they're due. And if you have online payment set up, it will give them the ability to pay now. If they click this, they will be able to add their card details and make that payment directly. Or otherwise, if you scroll down, here you have the section where you've added with your bank details if you want them to transfer via that way as well. Any questions at this point? No? What are your thoughts on it?
Sorry, it might be a silly question, but
Not at all.
if I don't want to say, if they pay me with a bank transfer and it's cheaper because I'm not using Stripe, can I have two different options of payment? I mean, can I change that in the pay, instead of, if they don't pay now, that would be through Stripe, yes, and that would be a 2% charge, and I'm adding that on hypothetically. But if they pay me directly with a bank transfer, is there a way to make two different payments that they pay less, or? No?
Good question. The best way to do that, I would recommend, is that you discuss with them first how they would like to pay, and then if they say, oh, I'd maybe like to pay this via card but pay another one via bank transfer, I'm not sure whether they'd like to do two separate, but if they do, let's say, then you can split that into two separate invoices, and then one of them you can add the markup and then send that through for them to pay now, and then the other one you can not add the markup, and then you can specify that they pay you via bank transfer. And so it's just about make sure that you're communicating to the client how they would like to pay, so that you are marking up the invoice accordingly.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
It makes it so much easier as well, sorry, because you can put everything like the design fee in it, everything, can break it down quite easily. So I'm looking forward to using it. Yeah.
Good.
Yes,
I'm
I
really pleased to hear that.
I also like the look of it, and I feel it's very flexible. I like these added details that you've contributed now about, you know, the different payments. I guess I'm wondering if it is Apple Pay, what would it fall under now if they want to pay Apple Pay, because you showed the bank transfer or the payment through the online payment through the Stripe system. But if they choose Apple Pay, what would it be?
So we don't currently have Apple Pay supported in Houzz Pro for them to make that payment. So the options would be as was presented. So either they pay via Stripe, via the Pay Now button, or they can pay via bank transfer if you add your details at the bottom. What I would say is that for a lot of people on their, let's say if they're going through this on their mobile phone or even on the computer, a lot of people have Google securely saves your card details. You guys might have come across this as well. And so those would still be able to be auto-populated, which is the ease that people look for in Google Pay, not having to enter the card details. If they've opted for that, then it will auto-populate the card details to make it just that bit easier for them to pay via their card.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So it sounds like from your feedback, and thanks so much, guys, it sounds like this very much is solving some of the problems that you guys had told us earlier, so that, you know, clients would like to see very clearly what they're paying for. They want it to be easy to pay, and both via the online payment system or otherwise very clearly telling them exactly, you know, how they can transfer you that money, both of which solves those issues for them. It allows you to be able to organize the payments that you're receiving for which sections of your project. And more so than that, if I go back to the project, when you first enter one of your projects on Houzz, there is a financial overview for you right at the top. And what this will summarize for you is the cash flow that you're having for the projects, and so the incoming payments that you have received. And so these could be ones you've received via the online payments, which will automatically update, or otherwise if you log a payment, then this will reflect here as well. And it will also show you any outgoing payments that you have, and so that can be any expenses that you've added and that you've logged that you've had to add to the project along the way. It also includes any purchase orders that you have sent and created in the project for the project, or any refunds that you have stated that you've had to give to the client. And then it will give you a forecast based on the incoming and the outgoing payments for you to keep a track of how much you're expecting to receive from the project, how much you've received already, and then what is still due for you as well. So I can imagine that this will save time with various spreadsheets or various notes, writing down what's being paid, what you're still waiting for, and have it very transparently connected specifically to that project in the system. Awesome. I'll let Jen share her screen again.
Yes. Okay. There we go. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So we've dived into the demo, so we do have a better understanding of how to use that feature. I believe Safia mentioned earlier that you've looked into it, and I would like to know, so far, having a better understanding of the platform or how to proceed with the payment, how do you think that could actually be beneficial in terms of process? It's a simplified process, so how would that be beneficial for your client if you use it, obviously?
I'd say the transparency increases the trust and strengthen the relationship. So that'd be the first thing on my mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think the examples that were demo was pretty clear, especially the end where we have all the boxes with the dates and the amount. That's very, visually speaking, that's so clear. Any other point that you would like maybe to mention in terms of how simple the process is and how clear the process is? Please do not hesitate to add your comment in the chat if you want to.
Yeah, it's very visual and very clear
Mm-hmm.
for us as well. We're trying to be designers, not
Yeah.
accountants. So it's clear, it says how much we're getting in, how much we're due, and yeah, anything visual. Obviously, being designers, I think we're quite a visual kind of our nature is quite visual. So it's something quick, something that we really don't have to spend hours and hours working out. I like how we can just plug things in and say design fee and break it down, because sometimes I like to change it up all the time, but it's just makes just to try and make it nicer. But I like how simple it is. Does that tell you the overdue amounts? It did, didn't it, in the second box? Sorry, because my reception's terrible up here. I'm up here today, and
No problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
so if there is an amount overdue, then it will go into red in kind of the opposite way to if it's paid. And so it will show you if there is something outstanding that still needs to be paid, and then you can follow up with the client via the messaging section of Houzz Pro, or otherwise, directly via message if you need to.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you.
I love the fact that you actually refer to the fact that it's actually easy for you. We tend to focus on the client so much, being like, this will be easy, that would be easy to use, this is straightforward, this is clear. But it's true, as a designer, you are not an accountant. So obviously you want a process that is clear and visual, and being able to visualize the whole bit that's more easy for you to understand as well. So far, as we said, we've dived into it. We've looked into the feature and how we can process the payments. How confident are you using the payment feature now at this point, as you've seen and as it has been demoed to you? How confident would you be using that feature? Do you believe that the information that we've shared is enough for you to proceed? Do you believe that there will be a need for more training? Do you trust the process? Do you believe that Stripe is actually would work for you? We have relatively confident to use, knowing Houzz is generally intuitive to use. Okay, that's a great feedback. Any other feedback?
Yeah, I agree with Christina. That was Christina, wasn't it?
That was Valerie, if I'm not wrong. Valerie, yeah.
Oh, it's Valerie. Sorry. Yes, I agree. It's very intuitive, so it should be quite easy to use. I think the more I use it, I think I was shown it quickly, and now you've kind of sealed it.
Yeah, great. Just for you to know, if you I just want to know at this point if you believe that there is any project that you're currently working on that you could actually use the feature for, because you're currently working on it, and now that you've had a better understanding of how to use it, you could actually apply it now on the project that a project that is currently ongoing. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much for actually this feedback. That helps us to know in terms of demo, if that's clear enough, if the information that are needed are being shared. So thank you so much. Just for you to bear in mind, if you do believe that you need more training, so far the feedback has been great and positive, but if you do need more training, you do have the ability to reach out, which is pretty straightforward. You can book a session with any of our team member from the support team. I believe that most of you know how to contact support, but if you do not, I could actually lead you to understand how to proceed. Okay, so if I could actually take over so that I can share my screen and show you how. My apologies, I'm actually. There we go. So from Houzz, as you can see, you do have the support button. The support button obviously opens up more options where you can actually make a call. You can access the help center. You have video tutorial. So that would be helpful. Again, if you need a refresh, you can access the video tutorial bits where everything is really well categorized and you can actually access to the online payment. And lastly, you do have the submit a support ticket. From there, you could actually select the topic, and then it could be report others, for instance, when it comes to online payments, whatever you believe that you need support with. In this case, it would be the payment. And then from there, you could actually put a little message such as, I need a training, please. These are my availabilities. And then from there, we could actually take the time to schedule a training one-on-one with you to give more insight about this feature. Okay, and lastly, if we could go back to the presentation. We want to know, so for today, anyone can again unmute themselves or put a message in the chat. We would like to know, what are your takeaway for today? If there is a specific takeaway that you have, it could be from the demo, it could be from the information that we've shared, the importance of using a platform that is clear and easy to use. Any feedback, any takeaway for today, that would be great to share.
Oh, go on, Valerie, go for it.
Oh, thanks. Quickly, for me, there are many advantages. We've talked about them. One of the things that stays with me is the record of information for, tax reports, which is this time of the year, isn't it? Where it's also going to be an added advantage to have everything already organized to submit that. That's great.
Thank you for sharing, Valerie. Any other feedback? Any other takeaway mainly?
Yeah, lots of benefit, very clear. Like I said before, I think I like it's all in one place. The fact that if you can link it to QuickBooks, and you can have the option of not always having to pay through Stripe. I mean, yes, it is convenient, but and how to make it transparent or not, or add it to your fee, and just tips like that, really helpful.
Great.
Thank you.
I'll definitely share mine. My takeaway, because we do have the ability to do so. One of my takeaway is definitely the fact that we've talked about it and mentioned it a couple of times, is that designers are not accountants. So that's very important for us when we are actually working on the product or even working on the tutorials. Just bear in mind that these are different type of people that we're dealing with, and mainly when it comes to designer, the more simple it is, the better it is. So that's definitely one of my takeaway. Any other takeaways to share? Amazing. Great. Thank you so much for your contribution. So lastly, just to bear in mind, we do run these sessions on a weekly basis. So we want to make sure that we can actually support you as much as possible with your need. Therefore, what we have done is to create a survey with few questions. It's pretty straightforward and easy, just for us to ensure that we remain aligned with your needs and that we can actually respond and answer to your needs. So please, in order for us to remain fully aligned with what you desire when it comes to you attending this session, please share your feedback so that we can at least know how we can carry on and continue with these sessions that are very, I believe, beneficial for all of us. That would be it for today, I believe. If there's any other comment that anyone would like to make, please do not hesitate. But a big thank you to all for your participation. It has been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you soon for the next session.